Hi, this is Mrs. Freeman. Today we're going to graph linear equations using the slope-intercept form. So first off, slope-intercept form is an equation that's in the form y equals mx plus b. And when you look at this form, x and y are going to be variables, and m, this number that's in front of x when it's solved for y, stands for your slope, and b, the number that you're adding at the end once it's solved for y, stands for your y-intercept. We're going to have 4 different steps to graph using slope-intercept form. Our first step says that we're going to solve our equation for y, that way it's in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to name our slope, which is going to be the m, and then we're going to name our y-intercept, which is our b. And then the third step, we're going to plot the y-intercept, which is that b. And it says use the slope to count vertically. So you're going to count up or down first, the number in the numerator, and count horizontally. Horizontally means you're going to the right for the number in the denominator. So that means that we want our slope to always be a fraction. And then in the last step, we're going to connect the points from step 3 to make a line. So let's look at some examples. So the first example is y equals 2x plus 4. So if we go back and look at our steps, our first step says to solve the equation for y. Well, this equation is already solved for y. So we're just going to take this whole equation, y equals 2x plus 4. And then we're going to move on to step 2, which says to name the slope. And our slope is going to be our m, which is going to be the number that's in front of x once it's solved for y. And then this number, the slope, we also want this to be a fraction. So you can make any whole number a fraction by just taking the number, which is 2, and putting it over 1. So 2 divided by 1 is the same thing as 2. And then we're going to name our y-intercept, which is our b. And the y-intercept is going to be the number that you're adding once it's solved for y, which is 4. So then step 3 says we're going to plot the y-intercept, which is this 4 down here. And since this is the y-intercept, it's going to go on your y-axis, which is your vertical axis. So we're going to go up 4 on the vertical axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put a point right there. So notice I went up 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, and put that dot. And then from there, we're going to go back and do our slope. So the top number, we're either going to go up or down. So since this is a positive 2, we're going to go up 2. 1, 2. And the number on the bottom, we're going to move to the right. We're going to go right 1, put us a point right there, and then we're going to go and connect these. And there's your line. Okay, let's try another example. So example 2 says graph the equation y equals negative 1/3 x. So the first step is to solve it for y, which is to put it in slope-intercept form. So this one already is, so we're just going to leave it y equals negative 1/3 x. Step 2 says we're going to name our slope and our y-intercept. So your slope is the number that's in front of x once it's solved for y. So our slope in this case is negative 1/3. And then your y-intercept is going to be whatever you're adding to it once it's solved for y. Well, if you look at this equation, there's nothing added here. So that's the same thing as if we added a 0 here. That doesn't change anything. So that means our y-intercept would be 0. Okay, step 3 says we're going to graph. So you're going to plot the y-intercept first, which is 0. So 0 is just going to stay right here at the origin, right where the x and the y intersect. Then we're going to do our slope, which is negative 1/3. So this top number is going to tell you up or down. Well, since this is a negative 1, that means we're going to go down 1. And then the bottom number is going to tell us how many to go right. So we're going to go right through. 1, 2, 3. Put you a point right there. And then you can connect those to make your line. Or, if you want to, this means every time you go down 1 and right 3, that gives you another point on that line. So when you connect them, you'll have your line, which is falling, which makes sense because you have a negative slope. Okay, so example 3 looks a little bit different than the first two because these are not in slope-intercept form. These are going to have to be solved for y first. So the first step says to solve your equation for y. So I'm going to draw a line here through my equal sign. This is a literal equation we're going to solve for y. So we're going to have to get rid of the 4x. So we're going to subtract 4x from each side. So the 4x's cancel on the left. And we'll bring down this negative 3y equals, well, 9 minus 4x, we can't do those because those aren't like terms. So I'm going to bring both of these down, but I'm just going to put the x first. So I'm going to say negative 4x plus 9. Well, we still need the y by itself, so we have to get rid of the negative 3 with it. So we're going to divide by negative 3, but we're going to divide every single part by negative 3. So that way on the left, the negative 3's cancel, and we have y equals, on the right, negative 4 divided by negative 3. Well, 3 won't go into 4 evenly, but a negative divided by a negative is a positive 4/3. Put the x with it. And then 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. So that puts it in slope-intercept form. Now for the second step, we have to name our slope and our y-intercept. So our slope is our m, which is the number that's in front of x once it's solved for y, which is 4/3. And our y-intercept is b, so the number we're adding to it, but notice this time we're subtracting 3. So our y-intercept is negative 3. Now we're going to graph. So we start with our y-intercept, so negative 3. So on the y-axis, which is your vertical one, we're going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. Put us a point right there. Then we're going to go to our slope. So the top number tells us up or down. This one's going to be up since it's positive. So we're going to go up 4 from our y-intercept. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the bottom number tells you to move right. So right 3. 1, 2, 3. Put you a point. Connect. And there's your line. So last example, we have x minus 3y equals 6. So this one's not in slope-intercept form either, so we have to go with that first step, which is to solve for y, because when you solve for y, that puts it in slope-intercept form. So we'll draw our line, and we're trying to solve for y, so we have to get rid of the x. So we're going to subtract x from each side. So on the left, the x's cancel. We'll have negative 3y equals, well, 6 minus x, we can't do that because those aren't like terms. So we're going to bring both of them down. I'm just going to put the x first. So negative x and then plus 6. So we're still trying to get the y by itself, so we have to get rid of this negative 3. So we're going to divide by negative 3, but we have to divide every single term by negative 3. So that way on the left, the negative 3's cancel and we have y equals. On the right, this is like a 1 in front of this x. So negative 1 divided by negative 3, well, that's going to give us a decimal. So we're going to leave it as a fraction, but we're going to say this negative divided by negative makes it positive. So positive 1/3, leave the x. And then 6 divided by negative 3, that will give us negative 2. So now we're in slope-intercept form. So step 2 says to name your slope and your y-intercept. So your slope is the number in front of x once it's solved for y. So our slope is 1/3. And our y-intercept's whatever you add here at the end, which is going to be negative 2. So step 3, we're going to graph. So it says plot the y-intercept. So our y-intercept's negative 2. So you start with your vertical axis. We're going to go down 2. Put us a point. Then we're going to go back to our slope. So the top number is going to tell us to go up 1 since it's positive. And then the bottom number tells us to go right 3. So 1, 2, 3. Put you another point. Connect them. And there's your line.